boys and girls. It's mostly done here. I'm missing one piece. I've got the flange, I've got the T and the pipe, but I don't have the threaded adapter. So it's going to be a 5.5 turner today until Lowe's gets more hardware. But as you can see, on. If you leave it off for a couple of seconds, it'll rotate the other way. Maybe not. To the right. 1, 2, 3. Always to the right. Oh, maybe shouldn't buy those. Make me a liar. But, yeah, see, turning. Turning the other way. Turning. 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 Okay. Now these, I didn't glue anything in here because they're not perfectly level yet. So you can unscrew this to dial in the level of the tube that goes in and pops out here. So I'd only secure these in with a couple of screws and leave it. I've seen people tie these into a separate piece of wood so you can move them backwards and forwards. That's cool. That's super fancy. She wants to use it tonight. Maybe I'll look into doing it at a different time. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to rip the top part off and show you how to wire this bad boy up real quick, and then we'll call it a day. So as you can see, I've got new holes because I accidentally had these upside down. I didn't feel like changing everything around. In doing so, this light switch cover covers these, so pay attention when you're doing this thing so you don't make mistakes like that. But so here's how things go. So these little motors have 2 wires. It doesn't matter which goes to ground and which goes to hot, so long as they both do. One goes to one goes to the other. So what I did, just for organizational purposes, I took all the left ones, pushed them out to the left. Those are going to the switches. All the right ones get bundled up. All the right ones get bundled up down here, and then because they only fit three long, so you know, you got the ground for this guy, and this guy are all bundled into this guy, and that red wire is the pigtail over here. You see the other pigtail for the other side, okay? And then this black wire here is the actual wire that leads to the power cord. You'll notice there's no green, there's no ground. I screwed all the grounds in, okay? This kit came with what they would call a lamp power cord. So there's no ground, it's just, you know, it's just the hot and the cold there. So, to complete the circuit, okay, all these guys, you got the ground here, or not necessarily the ground, it's not the green wire, but that's pigtailed. I showed you all that. Now you got the hot wire here coming out the left. It comes up into the bottom of the switch, and then I take more wire. This I chose white because it's what I had, and it is going to be pigtailed just like the cold ones are, only you're not going to pigtail them with the cold ones. It'll be separate. So I did 3 of those connecting the tops. Okay, so it goes hot to switch, white wire to all the other white wires on these 3, okay, just like the cold, and then it pigtails as well, and then they meet in the middle. Same thing for that side over there. So they meet in the middle here, and the black wire is the hot wire for the power cord. Now because it's the lamp power cord, it doesn't matter which you choose to be hot and which you choose to be cold, so long as you stay consistent. So all the colds meet up with the cold for all 6, and then all the hots meet up. So, okay, so cold off to the pigtail, hot into the bottom of the switch, and then it meets the top of the switch, has its new wire that pigtails just like the cold into the hot side. Easy peasy, not a big deal. I don't suppose there's all that much more for the wiring. If you wanted to run a ground because you had a 3-prong plug, you can do that. It's just a separate run that you would group together into the plug. But this kit does not come with a 3-prong, so I just kind of let it be. So that's with the top off. Thinking I'm probably going to put that thing on a hinge so I don't have to unscrew it every time I want to pop it off. But now my wife can make lots and lots more of these bad boys. These guys are pretty cool. This is extra sparkly. You can't really read the writing on the camera, but it looks pretty great in person. And hopefully, with all these instructions in this video, you can make one of these bad boys yourself. Remember, I'm not an electrician. I'm a total DIYer. All this stuff I figured out from other people, but I thought I might be able to do a better job explaining with better video quality. So get out there and build your own, folks. It's really not that bad. Took the better part of a day. You know, breaks to eat, breaks to dance to the music and whatnot. All that aside, I probably could have knocked this thing out in a couple hours, but I was distracted, had a lot going on today. But knocked it out in a day still. Sorry. One more thing before I go. It's worth noting that I left the sides here open. It's my understanding that these motors get kind of hot and you might need some venting. So I'm going to leave them open for now. If they get too hot, I've got an extra power supply from a computer that I'm not using anymore. So what I'll do is I'll mount a computer fan with an intake and an exhaust. So intake and then an exhaust over on that side to push air through and across the motors and then out the back. If I end up having to do that, I will make a new video showing how I did that. It shouldn't be necessary, but you know, I don't want these motors burning out prematurely. I've got the extra parts. It won't cost me anything. So if I need to do it, I will. If I don't, then I won't. So after using this thing for about a week, noticed that there were some issues with just the hammering of this end. These have been slipping out. So what I've needed to do is drill through these and put cotter pins in them to prevent it from pulling off the motor. So what you're going to need to do is you'll pull these little set screws out, get yourself some 3/32 by 1.5 cotter pins. It doesn't really matter what the length is, but you want them to be smaller so they can fit through the hole here. You want them to pass through the entire mechanism. So what I'm going to do is I'll need to drill a hole through the threading. It's about the 2nd thread down, and you need to be very, very straight, both up and down and left and right. So you got to go straight through, and that'll make your life a lot easier. If you're off a little bit, it makes things really difficult. And then I'll get back to you when it's all said and done. Alright, so what you probably saw there was me struggling a bit trying to get the cotter pin in. I ended up having to split the cotter pin in half, stick one end in there, and just kind of wrap the rest of it around. See how half of it goes through the hole, the other half goes around. The rest of these aren't like that. The rest of these, the cotter pin went straight through the hole because I did a better job drilling it apparently. That's exactly what happens if your hole isn't exactly straight. However, now these things are very on there. They're not going anywhere. My wife's not going to pull them off when she pulls her cups off anymore. She also had an issue with them falling off and hitting the table when they were turning, which caused all kinds of nightmares apparently. So be sure to at least pin or bolt or whatever you want to use for your fastener. These cotter pins are easy. I'd recommend sticking with these guys. I got them at Lowe's. They're not much money at all. Stick with those. And then you should be pretty happy with what you got here. As you can see, they all still work. Everything's doing its thing. And then I'll get back to you guys if there are any other issues that need addressing. But for now, this space is working great. Got a little LED strip there and all of our junk on the shelf. And then I'll eventually make a video. I'm going to be making a box that, like in hospitals, you drop the gloves in and they drop to the bottom and they stay, so you can pull the gloves out and then you'll stack a couple on top of it so they backfill, and probably hold some epoxy and some stuff like that. I'll show you guys how to take care of that. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next one.